Well, we looked at renewable energy, and some of the key issues for me is legislation, because in my country, although we're talking about renewable energy, we have not been able to put any legislation together, so there's an absence of legislation, and we're talking about renewable energy. And sitting in this session, I see it as important to have laws governing renewable energy. Some of the other important things, like this morning's session, we talk about oil. I was particularly taken up with, we talk about low carbon development strategy in Guyana, we're talking about renewable energy, and we're talking about combating climate change. And quite recently, we have discovered that our country now have oil. So it is more challenging. And listening from the experience of other countries, a lot of ideas now is coming in my mind.
Well, it's been a real pleasure to speak today on behalf of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on the Sustainable Development Goals. I'm Jack McConnell, I am the co-chair of that group, and I believe the Sustainable Development Goals give us a very real opportunity to make a massive stride in the right direction and tackling poverty and other issues of sustainability by 2030. What that needs, though, is action plans in every country. It needs parliamentarians like these engaged in holding governments to account for those action plans. And on the topic of this conference, it needs energy to be addressed quickly, because without sustainable energy production and distribution consistently across countries, the improvements in public services, the economic growth, and the better quality of life that we're looking for are just simply not going to happen. So energy is central to these Sustainable Development Goals, and I really welcome this conference this week as a step towards getting better energy plans and better national plans in place around the world.
My name is Samir Ibrahim. I am the CEO of Sun Culture, based in Kenya. We design and sell solar-powered irrigation systems that make it cheaper and easier for farmers to grow food. And I'm very honored and grateful to be here today at the International Parliamentary Conference hosted by CPA. One of the biggest points I want to promote today is that parliamentarians have a very important role to play in sort of the development narrative of this planet. Parliamentarians are the bridge between the negotiators of policies and the implementers of policies. And if parliamentarians play that role well, we could transition into a 2030 where everybody's very happy. And I'm very much looking forward to working with you and the parliamentarians to make that happen.
We've been talking this afternoon about energy and climate change in particular, and the different challenges in transitioning from fossil fuel energy systems to renewable energy systems, and the urgency of that question, but also the other related issues of energy for poverty reduction and food systems and other elements that affect sustainable development. The questions from the panelists show a keen interest to particularly take these messages to the public, into the schools, to inform their constituents and the people in their countries about these issues so that they can raise them with their politicians.
I think for me the key points on the issues we're discussing at this conference are that it is very, very urgent to make the shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And the good news is it's very, very easy. There's plenty, from a technical point of view, there's plenty of renewable energy available around the world. Solar in the sun belt, in the deserts and dry lands and sunny islands that are represented here, and wind in the many windy locations around the world, plenty of hydropower on our mountain ranges. If we can link them together with new long-distance regional grids, we can power the whole world economy from renewable energy easily. And that's one of the challenges that I think members of parliament around the world need to be working on.
Well, this morning we've been discussing how do you get sustainable energy into the energy mix of developing economies. What are the key areas that parliamentarians and policymakers need to focus on? So we've looked at the regulatory environment. How do you get that correct? You look at the incentives to get the private sector involved in investing in renewable energy. as well as because many governments around the world, and certainly in the Caribbean region, are highly indebted, the problem there is that you don't have the fiscal space to make those investments. And so you really have to examine the regulatory environment to get private sector involvement. These are some of the key issues that we were discussing, as well as how do you ensure that you get cross-party political support for these reforms. And one area that we've put forward in the group exercises is an energy sector master plan that has political support across parties. So it doesn't matter which government is in place, you ensure that there is support for this energy sector plan. And so private sector firms are assured that if they invest in the energy sector, that there is a long-term viability and consistency of policy across the electoral cycles.
And it's been a great morning because we're learning very much about how do you take a resource extraction economy, which Canada's been heavily invested in that, and convert to a more sustainable energy choices. And it's been just a fantastic conference, getting up to speed. I'm brand new, so this is a great way to learn. Thank you.
Law and the lawmaking process is a very challenging aspect of environmental governance. It's been very good to exchange with parliamentarians and to engage with them, to share with them what we at United Nations have done in respect of environmental legislation revolving around climate change, energy and sustainability. It's also very good to hear from them the challenges they have in country in trying to develop legislation and to try and forge common ground, because we all have a common agenda, and that's sustainability for future generations.
I'm an MP from New Zealand. I've come from the bottom of the world to this fantastic conference at Church House put on by the UK branch of the CPA, the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. It's all about sustainable energy and development across the world, and this has come out of the Sustainable Development Goals that the UN ratified last year, September 2015. Right behind me you'll see the banner about all the goals that these contributing nations want to achieve. And if you go through them all, you'll see what a fantastic list of aspirations these are. And wonderful to be here with 36 other participating nations, and great to see this collaboration and reaching across the globe to work to achieve these goals.
This was an exciting learning experience for me. I think the issues explored, such as how do you deal with fossil fuel and gas-based energy in countries that are energy rich, to prepare for the transformation to a world more favorable to climate change policies, and the issues related to renewable energy generation and the sources available and opportunities available to one. I think these things were explored in a way that was very, very meaningful, taking into account democracy and access for as many people as possible in order to make access universal, taking into account the cost to the consumer, and taking into account the very big challenge of investment that you need in order to make this possible.
And I'm here today at the CPA IPC conference to discuss the work that UNDP has been doing in supporting parliaments and parliamentarians to push for more renewable energy in countries by legislating on renewable energy, by increasing incentives for investments in renewable energy, and increasing, of course, budgets for renewable energy, and finally for pushing for renewable energy within their constituencies.
It's been very interesting this week. I've learned that we need a lot of help on our side. We need to do a lot more for the SDGs than we have, but it's also been very helpful in putting it into context, seeing what help is out there, what kind of financing is out there, and also getting ideas from other countries about what they're doing. So all in all, I have been very impressed at the content of this week and also the assistance of the CPA. The speakers were of a very high level, and I think I'm going back now empowered, emboldened, and very optimistic about the future.